to my goals, yeah. Gotta do my own thing. Keep up the hustling. I won't be defined by your dreams. Committed to my goals, yeah. Gotta do my own thing. Keep up the hustling.
Hi, welcome to Hustleburg. This podcast is all about the small business people of St. Petersburg, Florida, how they got to where they are, how they built their business, and how they're serving our community. I'm Brett Bittner, and I'm the host of Hustleburg, and I started Beyond Your Side Hustle, where we help budding entrepreneurs go beyond their side hustles and ditch their 9-to-5s. As the founder of a small business here in St. Pete myself, I'm talking to fellow small business owners and answering marketing questions from them and from you as well. Each week, we'll release an episode alternating between an interview with a small business person here in St. Pete and an episode strictly answering your questions about marketing, building a brand, or operating a small business. You can ask those questions at beyondyoursidehustle.com/podcast question. That will also be linked in the show notes if you need it. There are also a few bonus mini episodes on the horizon, so keep an eye out for those. In this episode, I'm answering questions from you, the listeners, as well as some received from actually a future guest on this show. Enjoy! Hi there, welcome back to the Hustleburg podcast. We are now on episode number 4, and it being an even number, it looks like it is going to be an episode in which we answer your questions and questions from some of the businesses that we have interviewed thus far. Not just ones that have aired in episodes 1 or episodes 3, but questions that we have upcoming that are already in the can and ready to go. I'm going to remind you guys that if you want to ask a question to be answered here on this podcast, please visit beyondyoursidehustle.com/podcast question. Fill out the form there. It'll get the question right into me, and you'll hear not only your question, we'll give you a little shout out for your question if you'd like, and include it on an upcoming Q&A episode. We're going to kick off this episode today with the following question: what is the single most important social platform to get your content out as a side hustler and beyond, or does it vary from business to business? Now, I look at this two ways. The first way is this. Everyone is expecting that you have a Facebook page. Now, we're not talking about your personal profile. We're talking about a business page. The reason that they are expecting this is because that's some place where they can find out something about you. Even if you don't have a website, people are expecting that you do have a business page on Facebook. And this will help you keep your personal life personal and your business business. That's why we're not talking about using your personal profile, but using a Facebook page itself. Now, when you are ready to advertise, this is also going to be a great way to jump in when it comes to advertising on social media, because it is a great way to hyper-target your demographics and psychographics for your ideal customer. We're talking about really focusing in on specific zip codes. We're talking about specific age groups, specific interests. So when you really know your customer or your potential customer and your potential client, you are going to have an awesome opportunity to utilize the tools within Facebook to advertise to them. The added bonus is that as of right now, this is 2020. Keep in mind that this is information I'm sharing in 2020, and some advice in the digital marketing space doesn't age well just because of how rapidly things change. So I'm apt to revise this in the future, but in 2020, Facebook is still the most popular social media platform right now. That's not to say that it's going to be the most popular social platform going forward. We all remember MySpace, I think, maybe. We had Friendster before that. Those didn't stick around. They all were surpassed by something that was far more interesting, far more social, that we just seemed to like and that evolved with us a little better. So right now, Facebook is probably going to be the best place for you to begin, but I'm going to give the caveat and kind of look at these things the other way. The second part of how I look at this question is because marketing is all about telling the stories and telling your story in particular. And so how will you tell that story? If you do something that's very visual or has a very compelling visual element, you're definitely going to want a visual platform. You're also going to make sure that for the platform that you choose, it's something that you're comfortable with. That's the one you want to utilize. Now, that does not mean that you can just not start using a platform because you're not comfortable, because really what I'm saying is you just aren't comfortable with it. The next question that we're going to cover in this Q&A episode is, where do I start generating content for my online presence? Well, you're going to start in two places. First, you're going to be listening to your customers. You're going to listen to what it is that they need in your space. You're going to begin to understand how you can meet those needs, and you're going to start generating your content there. You need to help them solve a problem, although it may not be, and usually is not, the obvious external problem that they need to have solved. It's generally an internal problem that the external issue is a symptom of, the thing that it points to. For example, if you have a plumbing issue, and it's not so much that you need to have your toilet unclogged, while that is certainly an important issue to address, it's really the internal problem of how you feel if you were unable to use your toilet and had to rid your waste in some other way. It's 2020. We are in a society where outdoor plumbing is certainly not the norm, and you would feel very odd if you were unable to operate by the norms of this society. So that internal problem of how you would feel about the plumbing issue, if it's not addressed, is the actual underlying issue. That's something you need to be thinking about when you're crafting this content. Second, you need to be adding value with the content that you're generating online. In addition to addressing the needs that you've listened to, the things you've observed and looked inside them to help solve, you need to be adding value to their life. And sometimes that's not just in your field. Obviously, you need to portray yourself as an expert in what it is that you do. But sometimes it's going to be your shared interests or another aspect of your life that you share in your online life, that you share online, that's going to make a connection outside of what it is that you do. To give you an example, I am more likely to do business with someone who went to the University of Georgia, my alma mater, or is a Braves fan than someone who didn't or isn't. If all of the other things are equal. Now, if I know and I have that connection with someone, I've learned because we've interacted around an area of interest that I have, I am more likely to do business with that person because that's something that we share, that we have in common. Now, that's not to say that I'm going to exclude someone because we don't have that shared experience or interest, but it is something that I am definitely more apt, and a lot of people are more apt to do when they are able to connect with someone through a shared experience or interest. That's going to be a way beyond the single focus or 2 to 3 things that you do. If you add other aspects of your life to connect, it shows that, one, you're a real person, and then you're going to be able to add value in other ways, because not everybody is looking for a plumber all the time. To go back to my earlier example, they're going to want to make sure that you're literally a real person, that you have interests outside of plumbing, because people don't want to just hire for the job. They're not hiring the task at hand. They're hiring the person that they trust. And if you have a place where you can share your shared experience, your shared interest, that's going to be a secondary way to generate content for your online presence. I like to look at 5 areas of interest when it comes to how I'm putting out content. So you're looking at your main area, the main focus of what it is that you do, 2 things that probably support that or are tangential to that, and then probably 2 things that are a little bit more personal. And I'm not saying that you have to put your whole life out online. I'm just sharing that this is an opportunity for you to make a connection with somebody outside what it is that you do, because again, they want to make sure that you're a real person. In keeping with the theme of this episode, which is where one starts with their online marketing, I'm going to take this opportunity to share a resource created for the business owner or side hustler that's just getting started that we've created called our Getting Started Guide. It's for you for online marketing. You can get that right now for free at beyondyoursidehustle.com/gettheguide. That will also be in the show notes if you want to come back after you've listened to click through and get there. The question that I'm going to answer is actually from an upcoming guest that's on an episode due out in March with Trent Smith, a realtor here in St. Pete, and he asks, how do I get more organic social media follows? In my experience, organic social media follows on any platform come from three things: listening, adding value based upon that listening, and interaction. When it comes to listening, they are going to tell you what they need and the problems that they struggle with, giving you a glimpse at how you can guide them to the solution, even if it isn't necessarily a solution that you primarily offer. We talked earlier in the episode about the areas that you are an expert in, the interests that you have, the shared experiences. This is an opportunity to connect and foster a relationship. The customers that you're going to be listening to will also let you know if and how you can even help. If you offer something that in response to the struggle that they're having, that's valuable to them due to your expertise, even if their needs and the problems that they face aren't necessarily what your business solves, you're showing an eagerness to help. And if the problems they face or the needs that they have don't necessarily line up with your expertise yet, you know to wait for a better time to solve that problem because they just aren't ready for a relationship with you. And by listening early on, you're going to be able to see how you can help. And you definitely cannot do that if you're too busy talking. You need to be adding value. When you offer something of value, you need to respond in context to what they've told you that they need. This is the follow-up to the listening. It does neither of you any good to respond to what they've said with something that doesn't address what they need or the problems that they face. When you respond to someone who needs something other than what you offer with repeated broadcasting of a generic message that has no context to the conversation that's going on, just to buy from you, that does neither of you any good. They're simply going to walk away. You've lost their attention. Not only have you lost their attention in the short term, you've lost their attention going forward, because talking to you is like talking to a recording of what it is that you want from them, and they're not going to converse with that recording because it's not getting them anywhere in solving the issues that they have. The final part to growing your organic social media follows, again, no matter what platform we're talking about, is make it a habit to comment, reply, whatever that platform's mode of interaction is, to converse. And this is as important, if not more, as any post that you're going to make, because this is where you're really going to foster a relationship. It isn't the posts that you add out there where you're sharing your areas of expertise, as much as it is the interactions that you're going to have in the ongoing conversation that is social media. And when you're looking for social media follows that you aren't paying for through advertising, there are some fantastic opportunities to do that. We talked early about the hyper-targeting for your Facebook page, but the interaction is what's going to really help you as you comment and reply as part of the conversation to grow, no matter which platform, the following that you have on social media. I want to take an opportunity to thank everybody who was listening for this episode. If you got something of value, please do rate, review, subscribe. Just hit that subscribe button, rate and review on the platform. I'm not just asking for 5 stars. If you got anything of value, please do share. And I look forward to next week's episode, where we will be talking with Robin Swanson from Red Hot Tiki in Gulfport. Look forward to having you guys. Thanks so much for listening to Hustleburg. You did it. You've just listened to Hustleburg. To thank you for listening, we have a free guide to help you get started marketing your business online, aptly named our Getting Started Guide. Available at beyondyoursidehustle.com/gettheguide. See how to begin with the first 3 things you should be doing for your business online. Speaking of businesses, if you're a small business owner and you have a question about marketing, building your brand, or operating your small business that you'd like to have answered on an episode, just go to beyondyoursidehustle.com/podcast question and keep listening to hear it answered during one of our Q&A episodes. If you're local to St. Pete and you'd like to be a guest on an episode of Hustleburg, just let us know. Go to beyondyoursidehustle.com/podcast guest. If you found something of value in this podcast, please take a moment to subscribe, rate, and review on your favorite podcast app. This is something small that you can do to help us shine the spotlight on the great businesses St. Pete has to offer. Music in this episode by my friend Rhymer Educator. You can listen to his latest album, as well as his most recent single, No Fear, on Spotify, Tidal, iTunes, or wherever you listen to great music. Thanks so much for listening, and we look forward to telling you how we do business in the Burg.